of Nevada, the great silver state and the gold. New tales of Nevada, the stories, people working hard to make a home. Old tales of Nevada.
Hello everybody, welcome to Old Tales of Nevada, past and present. We have some out-of-the-world stories for you today. We'll tell you why and how right after this. Hello, California. Somewhere in time in Reno is a huge store filled with unusual coins, collectibles, art, antiques, and more, with pricing lower than anything you'll see in California. Come see it to believe it at Somewhere in Time in Reno. Hello, California. Somewhere in time in Reno is a huge store filled with unusual coins, collectibles, art, antiques, and more, with pricing lower than anything you'll see in California. Come see it to believe it at Somewhere in Time in Reno.
For over 30 years, the Book Gallery has been serving its customers with a wide selection of books, comics, and DVDs. They specialize in Western Americana, sci-fi, romance, and general fiction. Be sure to ask about their trade policy. 30 years and going strong, the Book Gallery, 1203 North Rock Boulevard in Sparks.
A proud sponsor of Old Tales of Nevada, past and present.
You hear it all the time. Buy local, eat local, choose local, grow local, think local. But who the heck really is local? You can shop with locals here in the Nevada Marketplace in the Reno Town Mall, home of the Buy Nevada First gift shop. We have all things made in Nevada and more. You can spot locally owned businesses where you see this window poster. We're giving them away for free. You can search for locals with our local business directory and free phone app at buynevadafirst.com. Because the business is either Nevada-based, locally owned, or it's not.
Welcome everybody to Old Tales of Nevada, past and present. I'm John O'Brien, the host of the show, and with me as usual, our executive producer, the man who carries the freight for the show each week, and that's Roy Marshall. Roy,
how you doing, Johnny?
Good to see you today.
You betcha. Good to be alive.
Yeah, it's good to be alive. Good day to be alive, too.
Yeah.
Our special guest today is Bob Smith, and in my intro I talked about some out-of-the-world stories, and I was referring to the things in the past that NASA was able to accomplish in launching rockets and getting people to the moon, and some of the good stories and some of the disasters that actually occurred. And Bob has a lot of intimate knowledge about those things, so we wanted him back on the show. He's living here in Nevada. He's a great resource. So, Bob, welcome to the show.
You betcha. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you for inviting me back. It's always a pleasure to be here and to make a small contribution to a wonderful show that does so much to preserve the historical background of the state of Nevada. And so, Roy, thank you very much.
You betcha, Bob.
That's our mission here on the show. In fact, we always go to Roy about this time in the show to let him tell us why we've spent so many years and so much time putting these shows together. So, Roy, why don't you tell us?
You betcha. Well, a lot of people don't realize the importance of our state of Nevada. So, I'm from Texas, and we're proud down there. I started this show to make people be more proud of being in Nevada.
Exactly.
Where I've been for probably 40 years now.
Yeah, I remember you saying that to me from probably the first time we ever met. You were from Texas and had all that pride down there in Texas. And up here in Nevada, because people coming in from all over the place, they really don't have that same feeling about the state as they do down in Texas. So
but the Civil War, after the Civil War, the U.S. was broke. And if it wouldn't have been for the state, we had made it end up being France, Germany, and England. So we'd have been speaking French or German, maybe.
That's right.
Or we'd have been not even born here.
That's right. You've been saying that for years.
Yeah,
too,
thanks to the Comstockers up there got Abraham the 7-8 million, and that's why he made it a state.
Exactly.
1864 on Halloween around here.
That's right. So it's been a great run for the show, 8-9 years. We just finished our 300th episode. You were supposed to be on as we were moving towards the episode. of 300, but you had an accident and couldn't make it. So we wanted to get you here, even though we're past the 300. We're going towards 400 now.
Well, I hope to be back for the
400th.
400th.
Yeah.
Oh, we love that.
We hope we all.
Yeah.
That's a ways away. But Bob, tell us a little bit about yourself. You've been on the show before. Just to remind people about where you started and how you eventually got here to Nevada and your contact with the NASA folks. And then we'll get into some stories about NASA as we move along.
Well, back in 1978, I was a school administrator in Stockton, California. And one day, going through the faculty lounge, I saw a notice to the effect that if you're interested in learning about a NASA project, come to a meeting. Well, the meeting was held at 3 o'clock Friday afternoon of Memorial Day weekend. And I've always said, heaven help the kid who gets in a teacher's way on a Friday of a 3-day holiday.
I'm out of here.
I was the only one that showed up. And I ended up with a contract to put a program together that involved 3 counties in Central California. And it was a NASA education project. Well, subsequently, I became the designated teacher in space.
Wow.
And
fantastic.
But when Congress learned about this beautifully designed program to conduct lessons from a space shuttle, they wanted to make it a national contest.
Oh.
And because I was under contract, I became ineligible, and so I was a consultant on the project.
Oh.
And then subsequently, I met some of the Challenger astronauts, and then after the accident in 1986, I worked with the families to develop the memorial for the astronauts. And so that was my connection with Challenger.
So originally, you would have been on the Challenger if it hadn't turned into a national contest. You would have been the guy on that rocket ship. So good and bad news there, huh? As far as that goes.
Well, who knows?
Yeah,
that would have happened.
But during the initial part of the project, I was subject to some very special training and encounters and fascinating experiences that I still have fond memories of.
Yeah. Did you have to go through a lot of, background checks, IQ type of situation? I mean, to go up in space, no matter who you are, you got to know a little bit about what you're doing, right?
Well, I think very quickly they learned that I was not an engineer.
Okay.
And but apparently I did have a gift of gab, and so they essentially then assigned me to Public Affairs Division. And so I went all over our country, North America, Europe, mainly giving talks and educating the general public and the taxpayers on what NASA
Yeah,
is
and this
doing.
was all under a contract situation with NASA.
Well, that was only initially. Later I became an independent contractor.
Oh, I see.
And that gave me a great deal more flexibility. So I not only worked for NASA, but I was with Rockwell, Lockheed Martin, the French Spatamage Corporation with commercial satellites, a couple of companies out of Canada.
So you did PR and teaching about these different products and projects that were happening during the heyday of space exploration, right?
Yeah, I always integrated education. In fact, we go into a community under a contract like we did here in Reno in 1981.
Okay.
And we came in under a contract with the air show. And the MGM Grand, then now GSR, turned over one of their ballrooms to us, and we linked up with the Air National Guard here in Reno and put on a big display, brought in some astronauts.
Really?
And then a gentleman by the name of Tom Engelman was the PR director of the MGM, and he was transferred to Bally's in Vegas. So we started doing shows in Vegas, and
how was the interest? I imagine what years was that?
1981.
1981. So there was still a lot happening with NASA in those days. Yeah, you're right in the middle of their heyday, really.
Yeah.
Bob, I wonder, would you say that basically at your age during that time, the space industry started? With the space shuttle?
Well, actually, you'd have to go back to the late 50s with Sputnik and
Eisenhower, Kennedy especially.
Yeah,
right?
But the original 7 astronauts, I think that's where the keen interest really was generated.
Yeah.
As far as bringing it into a real life situation rather than what we saw from Jules Verne and movies and what have you before.
Yeah.
But it fascinated me. But again, I wasn't that skilled in math, so I had to come in from a different angle.
Different angle there.
Oh, that was a good angle to come in.
So did you actually get into any training for that flight that was going to be taken? Did you get a spacesuit and do some of the anti-gravity stuff and get the feel for what that was going to be like?
Well, you were talking about Houston, and I did some simulation.
Simulation doing there, yeah.
In fact, I did fly the space shuttle, and I crashed.
In a simulation.
In a simulator.
Okay, good. So you get in the back seat. So who were you training with? Any astronaut that we may remember from that training?
Well, the main one was Vance Brand. And Vance was the last commander of a Saturn V rocket. He did not go to the moon, but he did link up with the Russian space station.
Okay.
Back in the 70s.
Back in the 70s.
And then Vance did fly one shuttle mission.
Oh, okay.
But he was originally assigned to the project I did in Central California, the education program.
Okay.
And then Vance kind of took me under his wing, and so I was doing some training.
Yeah.
But really, it didn't. I loved every minute of it.
Oh, you would imagine so.
But it didn't last long enough to really get into the zero-G gravity training or more simulation work. But then Krista was selected, and then she was heavily involved. And did quite well.
Yeah. So what brought you to Reno? What was the reason for coming to Reno and settling here? Retirement or?
Well, in 1981 was the first work I did with NASA for the air show at MGM, and then I stayed with NASA based mainly at Ames Research Center in Mountain View, California.
Okay.
And I, after 28 years, formed my own business related to NASA work. Mm-hmm. That would be a topic for another.
A whole nother show.
I was living in the hotel at that time, 1981.
1981, up on the Comstock.
No, at the MGM.
Oh, at the MGM. Okay.
Yeah, wow. I was out in Ione then. That was before the Comstock.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
But anyway, I moved my business to Reno because it was just too difficult to conduct a business in California.
It still is that way. Yeah.
So
we
I've
don't
been
blame
here
you a bit.
been here for 12 years now.
Yeah.
And Reno's been good to me.
Yeah, Reno's been a great town, right? So anyway, we're going to be taking a break here in just a few seconds. And I want you to think about some of the great experiences you had, both good and bad, because we want to get some inside baseball on what it was like to be around some of those astronauts and some of the disasters that happened there, especially with the Challenger, because you had some special knowledge of that. So we'll be back with more old tales of Nevada, past and present, right after this.
Everything is handpicked here at Precision Diamonds. All jewelry is handpicked here at Precision Diamonds.
Come to Precision Diamonds. I'll fix your jewelry just like new.
All of us at Shoeman's Custom Cycle are ready to get you and your Harley ready for the road. From oil and tire changes to high-performance engine upgrades and dyno tuning, we at Shoeman's have got you covered with experienced factory-certified mechanics and a full-service machine shop loaded with parts and accessories. Shoeman's Custom Cycle has been serving Northern Nevada since 1988. So ride on down to Shoeman's Custom Cycle at 275 East 4th Street in downtown Reno.
Shoeman's Custom Cycle, with a biker's bike shop.
We're back here for Old Tales of Nevada, past and present, talking with Bob Smith, who had a great relationship with NASA in the heyday of NASA. In recent years, NASA has not been too active, but I guess with Trump in office, there are rumblings that more money is going to go that way, and he wants to see more space exploration and more activity. So I imagine that's good news for you to hear, huh, Bob?
Oh, most assuredly. Unfortunately, politics always rears its ugly head, and NASA suffered from it. Probably the initial endangerment to the NASA program was under the Carter administration, when we did have a very well-functioning space station, but he cut the funding on that. And then Barack Obama did not do NASA any favors. It was Ronald Reagan and now Donald Trump that are very supportive of the program.
Obama actually changed the whole mission, took it out of space altogether and tried to make it a, I don't know what it was, international relation type of organization. But we don't dwell on that. That's too divisive. We want to talk about the things that brought us a lot of pride as a nation and as individuals, seeing the United States take that challenge of going up in space and actually making it happen. You, as we mentioned earlier, were involved a lot with the Challenger flight because of the teacher in space, and that was Krista
McAuliffe.
Krista McAuliffe, right? And that was a big national contest. And what did the contest involve? Did they have to display some knowledge of space exploration? I mean, did they have to be a certain level of education? I mean, what brought the winner? What made Krista the winner?
Well, if the candidate was into the science education, that was one of the main factors. And of course, there was a whole panel that did background checks and wanted to know the success of the teacher and how well they could articulate lessons and messages, and kind of NASA helping them design experiments to be taught from space. But there were quite a few candidates, and
I would imagine thousands.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
But Krista won out, and sadly, I never did meet Krista.
Oh.
But everyone that I had ever talked to about her, they always had a great deal of praise and admiration for her.
Yeah.
So,
Did people come to you as to qualifications? Were you part of that board that made the decision as to who the winner was going to be? Do you have any input that way?
I was not on that board, but the gentleman who initially designed the program was William Nixon at NASA headquarters, Education Programs Office. And Bill and I worked closely together.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, like I said, I became a consultant, and he was the visionary that made this happen.
Okay. Now, how far in front of that launch was she picked, and how much training was involved with this crew that we see here, which included a very diverse bunch of folks? How far ahead did they start training before that flight took off?
About 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so Krista, for example, had to give up her teaching career for those 2 years leading up to the flight that happened there in Florida.
And Krista also had a backup, and that was Barbara Morgan, who subsequently did go up.
Oh, okay, very good. Now, the ship that they took off on, was that an old technology, or was that a new rocket they had just put into play, or you know quite a bit about the different rockets that were used. Was that the Saturn V or?
Well, the shuttle itself, the Challenger, I think this was probably about the third flight of the Challenger, maybe the fourth.
Okay, so it wasn't ancient.
It wasn't, no, but it was all relatively new technology.
Yeah. When did the shuttle actually start to fly, the first shuttles?
The first flight was in 1981.
Oh, in 81, okay.
Yeah.
And you say you were there for that?
I was there. In fact, I still have the automobile pass
Wow.
to get right up in the
Was that a
stands.
pretty amazing, scene
Yeah.
to be on?
Yeah, I had seen other rocket launches, but mainly out of Vandenberg in California.
Yeah.
And but this was very exciting. And then having worked with the commander Dick Scobie and Ellison Onizuka, that meant a lot to me. And then, of course, Vance Brand was there, and most of the folks out of Washington with NASA. So
So you were with the VIPs then?
Yes, he was.
I felt very privileged.
Yeah.
Very
I would
fortunate.
imagine watching that take off, or any one of those rockets, it's got to be mesmerizing and so loud. I mean, how far away from the launch site are you? Where was the viewing area compared to the launch site?
Well, in '81, we were about a mile and a half away, but after the accident, they extended that to about 3 miles.
Oh, okay. Yeah, did
so-
you feel the explosion of air as that thing launched?
At launch, the noise is what really impacts you.
Yeah.
And then the pictures I brought today really don't demonstrate it, but there are some beautiful pictures of all the birds. Because there's a lot of marshes around the launch pads there.
Which makes sense.
So they were all taking off and screaming, and then the noise, but it's just a fascinating experience.
I would imagine.
And people will go there hours in advance to see.
See that, yeah. Was
And
it
then,
open to the public, or you have to be invited to something like
Well,
that?
to get into the stands, you have to have special invitations.
I see.
But another spectacular event is a landing.
That's
always
a scary side of the whole flight. Yeah, really. So what we saw here in the photograph is the actual launch of the Challenger, and it wasn't how many seconds after launch that thing blew
It
up.
was within about 35 seconds afterwards.
35 seconds, yeah.
Yeah. And, even to this day, we're, with all the backup systems and, why did it happen? Well, the only thing we can conclude is that it goes right down to human error. And
it just wasn't put together right.
Yeah, but
correct.
But you're talking about a technology that consists of 6 million parts, systems, and subsystems.
Yeah.
And I've always said that even if you had 99.9% pure effective functioning, you could still anticipate 6,000 things going wrong.
And we experienced that when you would have these launches. There many times there was a pause or even a cancellation because of certain systems not operating. In this case, it was canceled at least once, the launch, but not because of equipment. It was because of the cold weather, right?
That's right.
Yeah, they didn't launch in cold weather.
Well, that's where the human error comes in.
Yeah.
We think that played a major factor
Yeah.
in the Challenger accident. But one thing that always fascinated me was the astronauts themselves. They knew what the risks are.
Yeah.
And but their philosophy, every one of them that I've worked with or met, is that great things can be accomplished by those that are willing to take risks.
Yeah, that's for sure.
That's what they
well,
teach
I
them,
want you
all
to
right.
show that other photograph too, because it's very special. That is the Challenger after launch, and just moments before it blew up. And the cause of that explosion was O-rings that connected these different sections of the rockets. And I understand that there was a Nevada connection there because Lockheed Martin was had something to do with the O-rings or the rocket itself, correct? It was tested in some place here in Nevada.
Well, not only in Nevada, but also in Utah, and it was Morton Thiokol, I think, was the company that was responsible for the O-rings. But then the cold weather was what we didn't really understand what type of effect it would have on that.
Yeah, so it started leaking from a moment of launch.
Yes.
And it just continued to get more leakage as it raised in the sky to the point where it just became combustible and totally blew up.
Yes.
Now, question about that. Well, first of all, tell me about that photograph. That's the Challenger, but there's another object there.
Yeah, this photograph was taken by an Air Force officer who happened to be the boyfriend of Judy Resnick.
Who was in this picture right here.
That's right, that's Judy.
Uh-huh.
And so when I started working with the families, the Resnick family gave me this photo, and it's signed by the sister, Linda Reppert, Judy's sister. And they explained to me that this was taken by Judy's boyfriend, but he also captured a bird in the photo, and NASA titled this Two Birds.
Two birds, yeah.
And there's only about 6 of these, so I'm fortunate enough to,
You're very special.
to have one of them.
What
Very proud
a
of this.
commemoration of that flight.
And this was Judy's second flight. She had flown a year before on the Discovery space shuttle.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that badge there, just very quickly, is what was on the uniforms of these astronauts, right?
Yeah.
Well, I have some more questions about the flight itself and the aftermath of that explosion, so we're going to continue our discussion here as we move forward with the show. But I think we need to take a break here for some commercial messages, so we'll be back with Bob and you, Roy. Great story, and both good and bad on Old Tales of Nevada, past and present.
Hey everyone, Dave Asher here, introducing you to our new store, the Nevada Marketplace, in the Reno Town Mall. Anchored with the Buy Nevada First gift shop, we've added over 60 micro shops, giving locals a place to set up their dream store. We are now 20,000 square feet strong, supporting over 250 local merchants with all things made in Nevada and more. We have more locals in one place than anywhere in the state, ready to help you find that perfect gift. We're open every day with easy parking at Peckham and Virginia. Go to buynevadafirst.com, your source for all things local.
Carpenter's Music World wants to help you unlock your musical potential with their annual used piano sales event. Carpenter's has a warehouse and showroom full of consigned, trade-in, freight-damaged, and demo pianos with brand names like Yamaha, Steinway, Kawai, Schomer, and more. Prices starting as low as $599 for verticals and $1,500 for grands. Carpenter's Music World annual used piano sale, the inexpensive way to unlock your musical potential. Carpenter's Music World, 1090 Kitsky Lane in Reno. Hello, California. Somewhere in time in Reno is a huge store filled with unusual coins, collectibles, art, antiques, and more, with pricing lower than anything you'll see in California. Come see it to believe it at Somewhere in Time in Reno.
Deluxe Travel, locally owned and operating since 1991, is the home for travel to Mexico and Central and South America. The crew at Deluxe Travel is bilingual, trustworthy, thorough, and caring. They will do everything possible to make your dream vacation the best it can be. Now is the time to book for winter travel, so stop by the office at 100 California Avenue or call 686-7000. You can also check us out on our website at deluxetravelLTD.com.
At Deluxe Travel, we sell dreams. Come in and plan yours.
Finally, a new place to stay and play in the 65-room modern Victorian-style Silverland Inn and Suites in Virginia City. The Silverland wants to give you a chance to experience the rich history and beauty of Virginia City by day and night by offering an overnight stay Sunday through Thursday in a standard room for just $82. The Silverland Inn and Suites has it all. Heated pool, hot tub, great views. Book now by calling 847-4484. It's history at its best at the Silverland Inn and Suites in Virginia City. Welcome back to Old Tales of Nevada, past and present. Just to remind everybody who we are, I'm John O'Brien, the host of the show, our executive producer, Roy Marshall, and our special guest today, Bob Smith, who had a very close relationship with astronauts and the NASA program during its heyday in the 70s, the 80s, and even today you probably still have connections with the folks at NASA and with space in general, because that's a passion of yours as well, with all the new developments, which hopefully we'll be able to talk about as we go through the show. I just want to talk about that explosion for a moment. It exploded, but I guess the capsule in which the astronauts were in stayed intact, right? So they were all found together at some point within that capsule.
Yeah, you know, John, I really don't know, because NASA really didn't talk about that.
Ah, okay.
Just out of respect for the families and the astronauts. I've heard stories, but the actual condition of the capsule and
they never revealed that.
Really have not.
Okay, because I thought I heard a story about that, but it might be just hearsay and rumor. But you know, in a way, I guess to be together would be a good thing, you know. So after that explosion, the aftermath of that, you had some connection with the Resnick family, and you were able to attend some of the memorials, right?
Yes.
Of the astronauts, and you had it's kind of a fascinating one with he was the Asian astronaut.
Ellison Onizuka from Hawaii.
Yeah.
I was sent to Hawaii for 90 days prior to Ellison's funeral ceremony. And I visited all the islands, went to schools, met the Onizuka family, who owned a grocery store on the Big Island. And people were just, the Hawaiian culture is a very loving culture. So I took with me a Rockwell model of a space shuttle. Stood about 4 feet high.
Okay.
And they wanted it displayed in a shopping mall on Oahu.
Okay.
In Honolulu. And I said, well, don't you want anything else? And they said, no, just the model. And then I had an 8x10 photograph of Ellison. And they said, just prop it up. Well, every morning for 90 days, I go and check that model. And it was covered with flowers. And you couldn't even see the shuttle.
Wow.
Yeah. And then when we did have Ellison's funeral ceremony, it was a combination of military, Buddhist, and Hawaiian. So they had the missing man formation of F-16s.
Wow.
They had a very famous Hawaiian singer who sang Aloha Oi.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a tearjerker.
I can imagine. So.
And they tell me that today at the Punch Bowl, Ellison's grave is still covered with flowers.
Isn't that
And
something?
it's right on one of the cul-de-sacs.
Well, I think the whole nation went into grief.
They did.
And mourning for quite a while before they came out of that. But it really did affect the NASA program, and because they had a pretty good record of successful flights, and all of a sudden this big disaster. And how long did they go without a launch? It really set them back for a number of years, didn't it?
Well, it did. And again, funding and politics played a part in it. But also, we can't forget that we knew what the risks were.
Right.
And going into space is a dangerous occupation, but the benefits are immense.
Yeah.
In fact, 40 years ago, and even today, I still say for the American taxpayer, it's the best return on your investment. We figure it's $10 to every dollar spent. And
why is that so? Because of the innovations that came out of the space program, technology-wise, that moved us forward in different ways?
Yeah, we call it spin-off benefits. And as I said on a prior program, medicine is one of the greatest beneficiaries. And it still is today.
Yeah. And Teflon.
Well, yeah, you can go on and on.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of things, right? Well, even this technology here, this is a part of the covering, right? A tile, they call it, right? And each one of these was put on that machine individually.
Yes.
And had to be set in such a way that it couldn't come off.
Right.
Right. In fact, because of one of the defects in this tile, the second disaster they had with the shuttle was because of one of these tiles. This thing, it looks like it would be heavy, but when I picked it up, I was amazed about how light it was. And it looks like just a piece of foam, but is it really?
I know that the black portion, which is on the outside, is Nomex, but I'm not sure of the elements of what you call foam inside, but it had to be lightweight, and it has the capacity to dissipate heat very rapidly.
I see.
So as the heat is built up, it goes to the center where that is actually glowing red and or white, and then it's thrown off very quickly.
And so if one of these is off center or comes off as one is entering the atmosphere, is that last disaster, I forget what the name was of that shuttle, but then we lost the whole crew there as well, only because of this tile malfunction. So
what was the year that occurred again?
90s?
I think probably 89.
89,
90,
yeah. Because I remember being out in my backyard when that shuttle was coming back. It was before the disaster happened, but you could see it in the sky. And I think it was in the eastern sky. You could actually see it moving across. And at that point, it was fine. But it actually crashed in Utah, didn't it? Not too far.
No, it was
Texas.
Oh, Texas? Yeah. Thanks.
Was it Texas or was it,
Texas.
Edwards?
It started
No, this-
near El Paso.
Yeah, it was out here in the rurals somewhere. But anyway.
I saw it a couple of times from my own.
Yeah,
with my
you could actually see it,
telescope
right?
there,
Yeah. Everybody was so happy about it, and but they knew they had a problem when they launched, that something was wrong. They weren't sure how it was going to go down.
And they tried to inspect it when it was up there, but that's very difficult to do.
Yeah, because I remember seeing the cameras outside. They were trying to determine what they were going to do with it, and it didn't happen. So anyway, it was after that flight then that things really slowed down as far as NASA was concerned. And then you talked about the political situation. So anyway, it brings us up more to the modern times and the independent companies, because NASA wasn't really active. These independent companies, including the one we have right here in our backyard, run by Elon Musk, started to experiment with rockets, and they've come a long way.
SpaceX is what it's called.
SpaceX. Yeah, one of the competitors. Yeah.
It's just so fascinating that Mr. Musk is such a visionary, and of course he has the resources to put these programs together. But look what has been accomplished and what is about to happen. Just by the year 2024. We now have reusable rockets, and we're designing a commercial rocket to take as many as 100 people into space.
Where are they going to go? Just go float, run around in orbit somewhere?
Well,
are they going to go to the moon? What?
Well, eventually, Elon's design is interplanetary travel.
Right.
And as I was discussing with Hugh Roy earlier, think of the resources that could be mined on other planets.
Very important.
And we pretty well know what they're made up of. We have that capability.
Yeah, I think Uri would be the person to put up there.
I think so.
With his pick and shovel.
Definitely.
He'd be in hog heaven up there, wouldn't you?
Well, the space shuttle is going to fly again in 2021, and I have lined up for it to do Virginia City with a hit.
Oh, yeah.
And several places in the United States.
Yeah, see, you use NASA. You use NASA and the satellite technology.
EOSat is the entity.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it does the commercial work for NASA.
Yeah. So you've used that, and it's been really good stuff.
That's what I do is I map areas from outer space.
Yeah. You used it in Middle East. You use it over here.
Yeah. I use it for Russia and China and Egypt and
that's super.
Jordan.
Yeah. Wonderful. So this model we have here is not Elon Musk, but it might have been a motivator for Musk,
This goes back over 40 years.
Let me pick this up so people can see it. This is 40 years old, really?
Yeah, inspired by NASA, and NASA would still like to see it come to reality. But it's literally for space travel, and most of the technology is available to us today.
No kidding.
But NASA, as long as I've been connected with them, they've always believed that the private sector needs to be involved and has to be integrated with the work they're doing. And that's what's happening today.
That's what's happening today.
Because here in Nevada, there's something like 120 aerospace.
Is that right?
Yeah. And
Henderson has one. Remember we talked about it on a show in Vegas?
Absolutely,
And Elon Musk is working with Boeing and NASA and Sierra Nevada Aerospace Corporation to develop a commercial vehicle to go into space.
Yeah. Is there any use of the facilities at our industrial center out there?
I wonder.
I wonder, because he's got the land and buildings
not?
for it.
Yeah.
Why not?
Why
yeah.
not?
Yeah. Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah.
If we had a part in launching the first commercial vehicle?
I don't see why not.
Wow, that would be a feather in our cap.
The governor knows the location.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, he
But
does.
talk about bringing pride to Nevada, right? You're right. That would definitely do it. All right. Well, we got running through these segments here pretty darn quick there, Bob. So let's take another break, and we'll come back for our last segment here on Old Tales of Nevada, past and present.
Hey everyone, Dave Asher here, introducing you to our new store, the Nevada Marketplace, in the Reno Town Mall. Anchored with the Buy Nevada First gift shop, we've added over 60 micro shops, giving locals a place to set up their dream store. We are now 20,000 square feet strong, supporting over 250 local merchants with all things made in Nevada and more. We have more locals in one place than anywhere in the state, ready to help you find that perfect gift. We're open every day with easy parking at Peckham and Virginia. Go to buynevadafirst.com, your source for all things local.
Everything is handpicked here at Precision Diamonds. All jewelry is handpicked here at Precision Diamonds.
Come to Precision Diamonds. I'll fix your jewelry just like new.
For your spring and summer wardrobe, soft pastels have arrived at Boutique Elegante. Wonderful sweaters, tunics, and capris create that special look. Bold and bright, the colors of summer in fabulous combinations of red, navy, white, or black. Beautiful chiffon skirts with coordinating tops. Imagine these fashions at your patio party, a day at the lake, or on a cruise. This and so much more at Boutique Elegante.
Hello, California. Somewhere in time in Reno is a huge store filled with unusual coins, collectibles, art, antiques, and more, with pricing lower than anything you'll see in California. Come see it to believe it at Somewhere in Time in Reno.
Come to Precision Diamonds. I'll fix your jewelry just like new.
Deluxe Travel, locally owned and operating since 1991, is the home for travel to Mexico and Central and South America. The crew at Deluxe Travel is bilingual, trustworthy, thorough, and caring. They will do everything possible to make your dream vacation the best it can be. Now is the time to book for winter travel, so stop by the office at 100 California Avenue or call 686-7000. You can also check us out on our website at deluxetravelLTD.com.
At Deluxe Travel, we sell dreams. Come in and plan yours.
Finally, a new place to stay and play in the 65-room modern Victorian-style Silverland Inn and Suites in Virginia City. The Silverland wants to give you a chance to experience the rich history and beauty of Virginia City by day and night by offering an overnight stay Sunday through Thursday in a standard room for just $82. The Silverland Inn and Suites has it all. Heated pool, hot tub, great views. Book now by calling 847-4484. It's history at its best at the Silverland Inn and Suites in Virginia City.
For over 30 years, the Book Gallery has been serving its customers with a wide selection of books, comics, and DVDs. They specialize in Western Americana, sci-fi, romance, and general fiction. Be sure to ask about their trade policy. 30 years and going strong, the Book Gallery, 1203 North Rock Boulevard in Sparks.
A proud sponsor of Old Tales of Nevada, past and present. Somewhere in Time is the place to find what will be treasured for all time. It's a huge store filled with unusual coins, collectibles, art, antiques, and more. You might say they have everything under the sun, almost. See it to believe it at Somewhere in Time in Reno. We're back here for our last segment of Old Tales of Nevada, past and present. We have a great guest with us today, Bob Smith, who tightly connected with the NASA program over the years and still has a great interest in what's happening with space exploration. And we're getting very close to the commercial side of space. And pretty soon, our good friend Elon Musk might have the first vehicle to do that. And we have this Nevada connection here. What would it cost to actually build something of this nature that would fly today, that would carry people up into space?
Well, Elon is projecting that to get the program operational at first, it's only going to cost about $2 billion.
$2 billion.
Yeah. But you think about what other things cost.
Yeah.
That's not that bad.
Not bad at all.
Yeah, to build a fence nowadays just costs billions of dollars.
That's
right.
There's
helicopters that cost $500 million.
Yeah. And then that space vehicle, he's got a name for it, Stargazer or something?
Dream Chaser.
Oh, Dream Chaser.
That's
Great
a
name
good,
for that.
He's chasing a dream.
But you can reuse that vehicle.
That's the secret to his cost-saving designs.
Yeah.
Is everything is reusable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course, the shuttle was reusable.
Yeah.
But this technology, we've learned so much from shuttle technology that this is going to be vastly improved.
It just blows my mind when I see. It's great enough to see it take off, but then to see that thing come back, and those rockets go off. And that thing just comes down and settles on that pad. It's just like, how did they do that? You know?
And it can land in the United States, anywhere in the world, on the oceans, on platforms.
We could see that right here in Nevada.
That's right. Yeah.
Right on Elon Musk's property out there.
Or in Hugh Roy's backyard.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's the, you called it the spin-off of all of this testing in space that has gone on all these years, are driverless cars, GPS, all these different technologies, right? Had their start probably with rocketry of one sort or another.
Definitely, and
yeah,
and here again, this is the return on the investment.
Yeah,
and that's what we're enjoying today, and what we are so dependent upon. Maybe unfortunately, but it's just so exciting what's happening. On a previous program, we talked about the evolution of technology, and I always like to remind audiences that we don't change our technology, but we add to it. Every day, because some of the most primitive technology we still use today.
Yeah.
Like a rock.
Like a rock, like a wheel.
Yeah, the wheel.
The stagecoach, automobile, right? It keeps going and going. Do you think that'll ever happen, Bob, where they have small enough rockets that you would put on your shoulder pads or something, and they would fly you to work outside of any other vehicle? You could just go from here to Rayleigh's and get your groceries and come back.
Well, another thing I learned from my association with NASA, we are only limited by our own imagination.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something? Yeah, I mean, every day they seem to come out with stuff. I mean, just the driverless car. It was just another one where Elon is taking the lead, has taken the lead. It's just an amazing thing, I was in one of those cars, by the way, with the guy who was driving. He has one of those driverless cars, and we're driving down.
High blood pressure?
We're driving down 395 at 65 miles an hour. And he turns around and starts having a conversation with me, He's not looking at the road. And I said, it didn't hit me at first. I said, this guy is not looking at the road. But he had it on the driverless car thing, and it just went along and got off at the right exit and took him where we wanted to go. It was like blown away. I couldn't believe it, So hopefully we're around to see all of this stuff happen,
Well, it's happening more quickly than ever before.
Yeah.
And anytime you go on the internet, 40 years ago, what's an internet?
Yeah, exactly.
Look at all the knowledge that can be gained.
Yeah. So would you, if your health would be good enough, would you get on one of Elon Musk's rockets commercially and take the opportunity to go out in space? I don't know what you'd do out there or what their destination would be, but would you take the ride?
I would definitely.
You would definitely take the ride, huh?
Wow.
Yeah. I wonder what kind of qualifications you would need in order to fly commercially. Are there any health concerns, that you'd have to pass before you went out there?
I don't think it would be any more than what we incur today flying.
You think you're just going to sit in a capsule without any protective gear on and that sort of thing?
Yeah, and it's the only way it's going to be
viable,
financially viable.
Yeah.
Because you'd have to open it up to as many people as you can.
So, what do you think it would cost to fly from Reno, say, to the moon and back?
I wouldn't want to try to attempt to make that projection.
Can you imagine going out to the Reno Tahoe Airport, right, to catch your flight to the moon? For a week's vacation with your honey, right? You always talk about going someplace romantic to see the moon. This way you'd be
I
on the
like
moon.
anti-gravity and spaceships myself. Rockets are a little bit primitive. I think we need to discover the anti-gravity in order to attack space.
Yeah.
Actually, John Glenn, on his flight on the shuttle, he said he really was sad to come back to Earth because all the aches and pains started coming back. But when you're in a gravity-free environment...
Oh, that's right. Arthritis goes away.
No bone on bone.
Well, there's probably a lot of merit to that, and imagine over time in future, some medical procedures could be done in space.
Oh, yes.
In a much better way. In fact, you had an experiment back in the old days with some animals that were able to tell a lot of things about medical procedures.
Oh, yeah. I was fortunate enough to be involved with FEE, the frog embryology experiment,
right.
Where we actually artificially fertilized frog eggs in space, and thinking that with gravity-free environment, their chromosomes would not polarize and divide, and they could be mixed up, and whatever was born would not look like a frog or whatever the creature was, and everything was normal.
Everything was normal.
And of course, we're doing this in preparation for going to Mars. And Elon says that by 2030, we will have a habitat on Mars.
Isn't that amazing? And also the moon, right? I mean,
and the moon,
yeah.
And one of the initial projects I was involved in fact, my company, we were growing plants in the controlled environments, hydroponically, and we had a great deal of success.
Yeah.
In fact, my engineers worked on the first plant to be grown in space on the Russian space station. And we grew a tomato plant.
Fantastic.
And then we turned the experiment over to the Russians, and they grew onions.
Okay.
Well, they had so much success with onions, we got suspicious. Turned out they were faking the reports because they had eaten the onions.
I just planted some onions in my garden, so I should get the formula and we'll see if it works. But yes, it's just a great field of study, exploration, in every single way. I mean, for you, Roy, it's the minerals that are out there that could be used, anti-gravity.
Well, we're developing superconductive metals at the University of Houston.
Yeah, I was just going to
Texas
say.
Center for Superconductivity, which we started.
Yeah, so he's totally involved in a different phase of
NASA is
it.
going to utilize that method. In the future.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something?
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah. And Elon
They're definitely
doing his
doing it
thing.
together.
Yeah, it seems like we have a lot of visionaries, and what's really neat about it is a lot of them are here in Nevada. Always go back to that. We have a special breed of folks. It brings people like you to Nevada. Why is that? It's the spirit of Nevada, right?
Yeah, it's the pioneering spirit.
Yeah.
Trick people out of their money.
Well,
I have that too, yeah. That's right. In the casinos, you mean? Yeah, right.
That's why I'm such a fan of the old tales of Nevada, because you really cannot move forward swiftly and effectively unless you have a knowledge of the past.
Yeah.
Very true.
And it can make you appreciate your environment, life, if you have that working knowledge.
Well, one thing I've learned, just doing the show and being a regular Joe, is that you don't have to say you can't do something in Nevada. You can do a lot here in Nevada. If you have the idea, and if you have the perseverance, endurance, integrity, you can make a very successful life here. And not only for yourself, but you can do things for the whole country. You know, as Uroy has done, as Elon Musk is doing, what you've done, all that can happen right here in Nevada. It's just the spirit that we bring here into Nevada.
Well, we only got 17% people. That has a whole lot to do with it.
That helps a lot. Yeah, yeah. Well, if
Texas is not extremely populated, but they're getting that way.
What we don't want is the spirit of California to come into Nevada.
No, we don't need their population over here.
That would totally
they got enough people
destroy what we want to do here. So anyway, great life for you.
Well, Reno, Nevada's been good to me. And,
Yeah.
And of course, when I was a small boy, my father always loved coming here, and especially Virginia City.
No, yeah. Right.
And he would drag me throughout Virginia City. So that's one of my favorite places to visit.
Yeah, if you go up there for the right reasons, you know, if you just don't go up there for the snow cones and cotton candy, but if you spend some time examining the rich history of it.
We ought to meet up there. I'll show you some pretty neat stuff.
Yeah, pretty neat stuff. Well, anyway, Bob, we want to thank you for taking time out of your day. I know you haven't been feeling well.
Yeah. But I look forward to being back for the 400th.
Okay.
There we go, yeah. We may be robotic.
Maybe we'll have already taken a ride with Elon on that spaceship, you know?
Why not?
I wonder what the price would be. Anyway, we'll save up. Okay. We got a piggy bank. We'll put it right in there. But anyway, thanks for coming, and Uroy, thanks for supporting the show again for another week.
Take care of yourself, Bob.
And our crew, we got Jim and Cesar who are here every week with us as well. So we want to invite everybody back next week, right, for another great episode of Old Tales of Nevada, Past and Present. We want to thank you for being with us this week. So for Uroy and for Bob and myself, we want to wish you a great Nevada day. We'll see you next week on Old Tales of Nevada, Past and Present.
Under blue Nevada sky, with a hot sun in his eye, Uroy walked the elk and wild horse trail. Studied earth and sand, with a shovel in his hand, struck bonanza, gold and silver, platinum ore.